Thanks, Tyler. And while that proved that most students are unengaged, there are some opportunities to change that. The Bottom Line's Christy O'Connor has been tracking 2 civic engagement projects going on here at ISU, and she has some news for us. Christy, what's going on?
Well, Aaron, we have a lot going on today, 4 monitors to look at to be exact. And if you haven't been tuning in with us, a monitor is just going to be that search term that pulls in all the tweets and Facebook posts for that topic. So our first monitor is ADP. That's the American Democracy Project. And this is just a nationwide initiative that seeks to promote civic engagement amongst college students. And we have a chapter right here on campus. And as you can see, there's not a whole lot of action or posts about ADP within the last 24 hours, but there is one tweet I thought was worth mentioning, and this is from the ISU chapter of the American Democracy Project, and they are just calling attention to a civic engagement opportunity that's taking place at the end of this month. So there's going to be a debate between the 13th Congressional District candidates, that's Republican incumbent Rodney Davis versus the Democrat candidate Ann Callis. So that'll be coming up at the end of the month, and it's taking right here on campus in the Bone Student Center. So if you are looking to become a little bit more engaged, that's an opportunity for you to take part in. Now, if we move over here to our second monitor, this is Turbo Vote. This is another nationwide initiative that ISU has just started taking part in this year. It's our first year doing this. And this is just to promote voter registration. So trying to get college students to register to vote. Now, as you can see, there also isn't a lot of posts, mostly just people promoting that they should register to vote. But there was a competition in the middle of homecoming week amongst a bunch of different universities across the country. 51 actually took part in it to see how many students they could get to register to vote in 24 hours. Brigham Young took first place, and they really blew it out of the water. Second place was about 600 votes short. Now, if we jump down a little bit, you can see ISU did place. They came in 13th, and they were just one short of a register to beating Stanford. So there was some activity amongst the college students here. So that's just some updated news that I wanted to give you guys. And if you stay tuned after the break, I'll be breaking down the action between the 2 candidates for governor last night at its debate. Live in SMACC, I'm Christy O'Connor. Aaron, back to you.
Christy, thanks. Well, if there's one theme we're starting to see here, it's that being poorly informed is a bit of an epidemic. But we were just shown how not knowing what's going on in our democracy is completely a choice. Now, that's not to say the public couldn't use a little push. The Bottom Line's Emily Konopka is here, and she's going to tell us what some organizations on campus are doing to raise awareness. Emily?
Well, Aaron, as we found out from Tyler, a lot of students on campus are registered to vote, but they don't know the facts. I spoke with the members of a few groups on campus that are working to get students involved in the upcoming election and helping them be as informed as possible.
You have a chance to use your voice, so use it. And if you don't use it, do you really have the right to complain about the decisions that are not coming out your way?
A call to action from the Student Government Association. The gubernatorial elections are right around the corner, and the race is on between Bruce Rauner and Pat Quinn. While the race is heating up, political involvement on campus is too.
Well, we've seen a lot of involvement, much more than we saw in 2010, even more than we saw in 2012 with the presidential campaign.
Student organizations like the Student Government Association and college Republicans have been working hard to get as many students as possible involved in this coming election.
We ended up getting about a little more than 100 students who were not already registered to register during that 1 week.
So what are these organizations doing to encourage students to show up to the polls?
We have tables on campus all the time, just informing people about when to vote. We have forms for them to sign up to register to vote.
The biggest thing is raising awareness, getting people to register, and then letting people know when and where they can vote.
But even though they've seen more involvement, there are still students on campus hesitant to get involved. Their biggest fear? Not being heard.
We feel like we don't have a voice. But when we work, especially in a small county like this, if Illinois State University itself, if just all the students that went to Illinois State went out and voted for a particular candidate, I guarantee you 100% of the time that candidate will win.
A lot of kids aren't informed. A lot of kids aren't like you and I who know the issues. So we're getting out there informing of why it's so important. I think a lot of kids were always the adage, why does it matter to vote? You know, my vote doesn't really matter.
However, the college Republicans have had a lot of success working with the campaign for Bruce Rauner.
We have, out of every college campus in Illinois State has the most interns for Bruce Rauner.
Whether or not these organizations' hard work pays off will be determined on November 4th. And as Christy mentioned up in the SMACC, ISU is hosting a debate for the candidates of the 13th Congressional District in a few weeks. The Student Government Association is helping to make that happen. Span told me that they're trying to get as many people as possible that they can involved. Vose also told me that along with Bruce Rauner, the college Republicans have been working with Rodney Davis on his campaign. For The Bottom Line, I'm Emily Konopka. Aaron, back to you.
Emily, thanks. And now we want to add your voice to the conversation. The Bottom Line is all about the voices we hear around us, and we can't do that without your input. Tell us what you think on Twitter at TV10BottomLine or post on our Facebook page. Just search TV10BottomLine and tell us what you want to see on the show. Coming up after the break, we go back to the SMACC and look at who is influencing the governor's race on social media and what you might want to follow to become more involved in the election. Stay tuned.
Welcome back to SMACC. Last night wrapped up the second round of debates between Governor Pat Quinn and businessman Bruce Rauner. So right now I have both of their monitors pulled up. Bruce Rauner is on the left here and Pat Quinn is on the right. And you can see the number of mentions really spiked up around the 6 o'clock hour, right around the times of the debate last night. So that's where most of the mentions took place. It definitely died down from there. But if we look at the number of mentions between the two, Governor Pat Quinn did have a few more mentions than Bruce Rauner did, by about 400 there, but really pretty even throughout. Now, if we look down a little bit farther at reach and spread, Quinn definitely had way more of a reach than Bruce Rauner did. And if you remember, reach is going to be the number of people that viewed original posts that mentioned Quinn or Rauner's name. So Governor Quinn had over 2.5 million people mention his name, and that was seen originally. Now with the spread, that's the number of retweets and shares. So even almost 2 million more people shared it from there, as opposed to Bruce Rauner, who had just over 1.5 million reach and then over 1 million spread. So from that information, I can already tell that Pat Quinn probably had a little bit more dominant of a social media gain last night, which does make sense given that Bruce Rauner's supporters are mostly from the older crowd and they may not be on Twitter and Facebook as much as the younger crowd. But let's take a look at a little bit more, the influence. So this is going to be the top 10 account users that posted about Governor Quinn and Bruce Rauner, and the influence means that they have a large number of followers. So as you can see, the Chicago Tribune came in first at both of them. They have a influence that's very high compared to the other people that were tweeting about these two. So if you're looking to become a little bit more civically engaged, you may want to give the Chicago Tribune a follow. Now do keep in mind that they did just endorse Bruce Rauner in a recent editorial that they published. That's not to say that they're going to be posting unbiased information, but definitely something to keep in mind when you're reading those tweets. Now, the next account that I'd like to take a look at is Quinn for Illinois. This is the account that's ran by Governor Quinn's campaign staff. And as you can see, he came up as a top influencer on both Bruce Rauner's monitor as well as his own. So he's mentioning both Bruce Rauner's name and his own in most of his tweets. Now, the only reason that this is significant is because Bruce Rauner's Twitter account only pops up on his own, mentioning his own name, and not on Governor Quinn's. So that tells us a little bit more. Once again, Governor Quinn is probably tweeting a little bit more than Bruce Rauner. So just a couple things to keep in mind when you're trying to become a little bit more civically engaged. Live in SMACC, I'm Christy O'Connor. Now back to you.